Welcome. This is the Drupal usability meeting for July 15th, 2022. I'm Benji Fisher moderating, and also here are Simo Helston, who is sharing the screen, and we'll start off the discussion. Offer Schall, Ralph Kohler, and Thomas Howell. So Simo, go ahead.
So this is the Drupal issue 2986958 to add support for negating user role condition for block visibility. So the block module does not make provision for negating the user role visibility condition. That makes it impossible via user interface to make a block visible only to authenticated users who do not also have a specified additional role, such as member. The issue has screenshots for user interface changes before and after, and that after screenshot includes a checkbox to negate the condition set by the checking boxes for user roles. So I have installation of Drupal 9.4.2 with the patch in the issue. So when I configure a block such as site branding block, I have visibility options to set visibility for pages, roles, or content types. So this is a minimal setup, so I created 2 content types. So content types also don't have negate option, but that's not the issue here. But pages do have also another option. But so the patch creates this option to negate condition for those checkboxes. So there is some space in between the roles that are selectable. But I think this is kind of a little bit confusing, because we have here the text when the user has the following roles: anonymous user or authenticated user or something else, negate the conditions. So we have for condition, so like what we are negating is not really clear. We have to go to the label of here to see this visibility. So this is negating visibility and checking boxes for users. So this adds visibility for the checked user, and also we can negate the condition. So when we have 2, it negates adding visibility for anonymous user. So this is kind of I think it's a little bit difficult to see what are the checkboxes doing, especially when we also negate what we are checking here. So it's much more clear, I think, here with pages. We have we can list pages, and then it's here clearly with the radio buttons: show for the listed pages or hide for the listed pages. So the functionality for negating the selection for roles, it's a nice one, but I think it would be much more clear if we had this kind of radio buttons here for the roles that would say show for the selected roles and hide for the selected roles. Also, it would be kind of distinct. So this is, you can choose multiple, and then it would be different from the checkboxes here, and it would repeat kind of state out obviously in an obvious manner that show this block for the checked user roles or hide it for the checked user roles. So it's also something that already exists by default for pages. So it would be the same kind of thing we have here for the pages. So it wouldn't. So here we are creating something that is different from what already exists by default or in the core for pages. So just to change this instead of checkbox to have it as radio buttons. So that's what I was thinking.
I have a minor question. Are you potentially suggesting that we would also, if you click on roles again, if similar to pages at the top, we got rid of the sentence when the user has the following roles and we said roles, because to follow the pattern entirely, making it so that both pages had roles, and then it would have the choice of the radio button that would default to show for the following roles, and then the other radio button would be hide for the following roles.
Yes.
And then you'd have the list of checkboxes that you could pick from. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, that's what I'm suggesting. And also, I think here it doesn't actually update what's on the here under the tab, like the description, like under, or what's the status under the tab. So it doesn't update here if it's showing or hiding, because this could be so long. Also for several roles, I don't know, it's a different thing.
So what you just showed does bring up an interesting thing. Rather than perhaps showing what roles are chosen, both the pages and roles should show what radio state has been selected. So if you click back on pages, maybe rather than showing what pages there are, under pages to the left, the tab, it would say show, it would be pages, and then it would say show for the listed pages, or pages, hide for the listed pages. So you would see which one had been selected, and you could do the same thing for these roles, and it would be at least very clear what state had been chosen, rather than not restricted being replaced with all of the roles. Or I don't know, I'm going to stop talking. I was just trying to think through the problem.
Yeah, that's also because it's good that we have here, when we check this, we have that negate for the condition. So this is kind of, but it's not really clear what is the condition here when the user has the following roles.
Offer, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I agree with the suggestion of the interface of kind of letting users put a list or choose things and then tell them what happened with that choice, or make a very distinct selection of maybe these two options like pages. But I also want to bring up, I sent a URL if anybody want to play with the same patch in DrupalPod. What I noticed by using Umami is that vocabulary, when it has visibility, has a similar negate the condition interface as roles. So I believe the vocabulary already, like, regardless of the patch, this is how Drupal core is. So, and if we decide on making change, maybe it should be happening in other sections that use the same interface.
Yeah, I think the negate the condition checkbox must be the default, and then it's overridden for pages. And I agree the radio buttons are a better interface. And I would like to see a follow-up issue, at least for vocabulary, or possibly for other visibility conditions to make it consistent with the way pages works. Ralph, you wanted to say something too.
Yeah, I completely agree about the radio button pattern. Also that it should be consistent across, for example, vocabularies, and definitely drop the word negate, because for me at least it was confusing when I played around with it to understand it basically. And with the pattern shown on the pages tab with show and hide is much more clear. The only problem I have, or I see, is in case the radio button for hide or negate the condition is checked, what is, for example, if nothing is checked, like anonymous user or authenticated user, because if it's negated, I would expect it's the opposite. So it is checked and it would be visible. So it makes me at least think. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, right. It's the old problem of what the default is, and if you don't check off anything, then by default it's not restricted.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Because if negated condition isn't checked, then anonymous user there's no visibility, and also no visibility for authenticated user. But if you check negate, then I would expect, if it's negated, basically inverted, so it would be visible for both roles, from my understanding.
actually, it says on the left, if you unclick negate for a second, it will tell you not restricted when nothing is checked. Then when you do click negate, it's a little confusing, but
I have a feeling that we've discussed this before. I think there's another issue out there. And we should try to track it down and add it to the one we're looking at as a related issue.
But all in all, I think this kind of a, you don't have to, you can always see quite like from the same place if it's showing or hiding. And also if it's checkboxes, then it's kind of a slightly easier to differentiate from the checkable options and the like what to do with the selected things.
Yeah, so the two radio buttons should be something like show for the selected roles, hide for the selected roles. And as Thomas said, I think Thomas said, the heading should just be roles rather than when the user has the following roles, to make it consistent with the, the short version is just make it consistent with the way Pages works. Ralph gives a thumbs up. I think we're basically in agreement here. So Simo, would you like to put a comment on the issue?
Yeah, I can do that.
there's one more thing. There's a module called block visibility groups that is trying to help with blocks and visibility. And maybe we want to look in their screenshot. I'm just sending the module here because it seems they tried to address a similar thing. If you click on that link I showed here, right on the main page, the second screenshot talks about access condition. And I don't know if there's something we can take from the work they did here, or maybe it's still not good enough. That second picture, the bottom one, yeah. It's on the top of the page, that one.
That's a good point. With all conditions must pass or only a single condition? Because what's the case if a user account has, for example, authenticated user and, for example, content editor, and the condition is, and if only one condition is met?
Yeah, I think that's aimed at sort of disparate conditions, unrelated conditions. And what we're dealing with is just a set of roles, which are sort of a consistent list. I don't think we need that option of all or only one.
Because this is a security condition as well, I'd be concerned that people wouldn't understand how you are changing the kind of role matching. Keeping this simple in core to me would seem to be the best for a predictable behavior. Making it super complex would lead to the risk of misconfiguration. I'm uncomfortable with that as a site builder when dealing with security.
Simo, can you go back to the issue and look at comment number 36? So, yeah, so the first half of that comment is giving some history, and the second half explains why he added the tag for usability review. And he says the test exposes a bit of a usability issue, though. What is the difference between authenticated plus negate and anonymous, or between anonymous plus negate and authenticated, since those roles are always mutually exclusive? Having said that, since either direction works, maybe it doesn't matter to offer both. However, I can see the use case for show to all authenticated users, but not site admins. I'm not sure it's worth complicating the code further to avoid combinations that will work. Although if you picked both anonymous and authenticated, then negated, the block would show to no one. So that's the specific question that was requested for usability review. So I think to summarize, there's more than one way to accomplish certain things. Is that a problem? And are there valid use cases for this? So can we think about those two questions for a minute?
Yeah, for me, I always thought that this is like this option to negate comes from the need to have kind of a default that blocks would like something, if new roles are created, it would either show or not show to those roles. So if we are hiding from certain roles, all the new roles that are created will have that block visible. So especially it would be like having a block that is hidden from anonymous role. And then when other roles are created, it will be by default visible to those. Or all such blocks that are hidden, like set as anonymous, like set where anonymous is checked and the condition is negated, then anonymous users won't. Selecting anonymous users and negating the condition. Then when you add new roles, the roles will have all such blocks visible by default, instead of needing to go to check the boxes for all the different blocks. So I think that's what the that's something that this is useful for.
Right, and the standard roles, anonymous and authenticated, are very special. They are mutually exclusive. No other roles are mutually exclusive. It's just these two, that either you're anonymous or you're authenticated. You can't be both. You have to be one or the other. So I guess one of the points Catch brought up is that you get the same effect by only showing it to anonymous users or showing it to everyone but authenticated users. So that's two ways of accomplishing the same thing. Is it a problem that there are two ways to accomplish the same thing?
The only concern that I can think of is more around configuration confusion. And I'm struggling to think of like specifically how it could be a problem, but that would be if I were to push on a single point. It seems that doing a negate or doing the opposite of something could lead to a situation where someone thinks they've configured it correctly and they haven't. And that it gets shown, it get like in the hide. Yeah, I'm not really expressing myself properly. I'm gonna be quiet. Thank you.
So block visibility has several places where you can go kind of make mistakes in configuration. Like for instance, what I actually did this week, like when I was hiding a block, it was like I was hiding it from the front-end theme, but not from the admin theme. So it's also when you need to configure blocks for different themes if you use same blocks for admin and the public theme. So it's also there is quite a bit of complexity already in block visibility configurations. But I was also thinking that if we want to avoid adding more complex configuration options to the core, by default, it might be something that could be enabled in a module, like a Contrim module could do it, or it could be something that would be later included in the core to have this kind of option, easy option to enable more complex visibility options.
Offer, go ahead.
I have a suggestion. I'm not sure if it was suggested before, but right now when I open roles, right, it says when the user has the following roles, and then it has negate condition. What if we could actually set it more like an English sentence where the option of show hide is maybe even above the main sentence of when the user, and then you would read it as show block when the user has the following role, and you have an option to choose hide block when the user has the following block. And then in not using that word negate condition, to me, it make it very, very simple. Like here's what I'm doing when I click on anything here, and remove a lot of the guesswork of what might happen if I click here.
Ralph gives a thumbs up to that suggestion. So that would be different from the pattern for people, which has the radio buttons at the bottom. Would you also want to change that?
Yeah, I think even in pages, we could like make it simple, and I'm saying we could, I think that would allow us across the board to always use this, show this block on, and then like say what it is, pages, show this block when role. An option of like the show and hide is where the options happen, like even above. Right now it appears in pages below the options, and I'm saying even putting it above and allowing people in their mind reading that sentence, make it easier to work with.
There is one thing that if we have something that, if we would have like show when the user has the following roles here. So that's something that a screen reader could read, that show when the user has the following roles. And then if there would be another place on the page where it says kind of something else. So I think we have to be aware that the user
I'm thinking
maybe doesn't see them in the context. So it should be somehow made clear that.
I think what I'm saying is what we have in pages, but bring that above the selection itself. So
Yeah.
Screen readers can read, show, hide, and know that these are options between the two. And then they see what is the actual selection that they're making, or what is the specifics that they're defining.
Yeah. So radio buttons, but with but I think this is a label for that text field. So it's kind of also, it's a little bit of this. Then this would be moved above the pages label, like the field label pages.
Yeah, maybe even the page is no longer needed there if the sentence is above it, because I think we have a structure here. We can keep, follow, and repeat. Show this block on the following, and then whatever it is, pages, and hide this block on the following pages. Show this block on the following row for the following roles. Something like that. They all repeat the same structure. I think would be easier for admins to know what they're doing and what they're choosing, and not each one look into a different method of how it's done.
But yeah. So this label is something that will be needed for, I think, screen readers. So that's something that needs to be like there needs to be like another check for that.
Yeah, maybe here it would actually say list of pages, where other things are more like radio buttons. So
Okay, can we take a quick vote? How many people agree with Offer's suggestion to put the radio buttons first and then the list of roles? Ralph agrees. Offer, I assume you agree. Simo, Thomas, do you have an opinion?
Yeah, I think it can be. Yeah, it's okay to have those, but I think we should keep the label there. For now.
Oh, the Zoom gives you the option of a thumbs up reaction, but not a thumbs down reaction.
you can actually extend that reaction. There's 3 dots there, and that's where you can choose all emojis.
Okay. Anything else to say on this issue? Then thank you, Simo. And I think you said you'd leave a comment on this issue summarizing our discussion.
Yeah.
And the usual comment should give a link to the usability issue and mention that that the usability issue will have a recording of our discussion.
Yeah.
Thanks. So let's see. we talked at the beginning of some other issues we could discuss. I could share my screen. Shall I do that, or does someone have another issue they'd like to talk about? Simo, can you release the screen share or stop sharing your screen? Thanks. Give me a second. I'm having a little bit of trouble finding the right window. Here we go. Okay, can you see my screen? Add a requirements check.
Yes.
Okay, good. This is issue 3116611. Add a requirements check for GD support of allowed image types. And Ralph, I think you said you had a chance to review this issue in advance. Would you like to lead the discussion?
Oh, yes, I could. I have only one brief remark about it. If you scroll down a little bit, there you have the current for all good situation on top, where you see the GD library version and the supported image file formats. And underneath, you have one image about one format missing, and then another one for two formats missing. In general, the idea is good. The only nitpick I would have is it would be if you click just on the two format missing, that we see the
actually, before I do that, can you give us a little more context? When do these messages show up?
It's in the status report. If you check that, and for example, the GD library isn't compiled with the support, for example, for where is it? GIF images, for example, or JPEG, then you get that.
So I guess on my installation, there are no problems. So we get this very short message about the GD library and the image toolkit.
At the moment, it is missing the supported image file formats. That is also added, as far as I understood it.
Okay, so this is something that will show up on the status page, and so it's adding additional checks. It's not just checking that the library is installed, but that it supports various image formats.
Yeah, and which image formats aren't supported is also added as an information.
Okay, so I'll open those screenshots in separate tabs. So if there's one missing image format, if it doesn't support GIF or GIF, you get this message, which you think is okay. And this screenshot is the one you didn't like?
No, also the other one, I also have a small nitpick. It's about basically, it's easy to scan for the supported image file formats. You see supported image file formats, you see supported, and then you scan and see PNG and WebP. But on the second sentence, you have the GD library was compiled without support for following image formats, GIF and JPEG. That way you have to scan until you reach the interesting part, which you're mainly interested about, which is GIF and JPEG. My suggestion would be simply similar to the first line, supported image file formats, just write unsupported image file formats, GIF and JPEG, and make a subline with supporting information like the GD library was compiled without the support for the aforementioned image formats. Check PHP GD installation documentation. About the exact phrasing, I'm not a native speaker, therefore I'm hesitant, but just the general idea, make it easier to scan and easier structured, so it's easier to understand from my understanding.
Okay. Any other opinions on this, or I guess before opinions, any questions about this issue? Okay, I think I agree with Ralph. And I also wonder if this is an example of less is more. Should we rearrange the text, or should we just delete this part about the GD library was compiled without support? Presumably, if you follow the link to the GD installation documentation, that will make it clear. So I think we should not rearrange. I think we should just shorten to make the second line consistent with the first. Unsupported image file formats, GIF and JPEG. Agree, disagree? Ralph, go ahead.
Just one question. Do you think it would make sense? I agree. Removing the GD library sentence might be a good idea, but would it make sense to change the second part, the check the PHP GD installation documentation slightly and write something like how to add support, check for the missing image formats, check PHP GD installation documentation, something like that, maybe?
I don't have a strong opinion on that. Anyone else?
I was now starting to think in a little bit different direction. Do we ask questions from the users, or I was thinking, can we write, if this is unintentional, you check the documentation. So because here the wording here is kind of saying that it is incorrect not to have support for those file formats, but it's kind of it would be better on giving instructions on how to add support for the file formats instead of saying that it's incorrect not to have those file formats enabled.
So rather than saying correct this as if it's always an error, say check the documentation if you want to support them.
Yes.
And Ralph has suggested some wording in the chat. If the missing file formats are needed, then check ... And actually, after thinking about it for a minute, I think the same principle applies. When we're scanning, we want to get to the important thing first. And I think the current wording puts the link first, which seems like a good thing. So, I guess I'd rather keep it more or less the same, but maybe change the end of the sentence as Simo suggests. and keep the link near the beginning. Does that make sense? Ralph gives a thumbs up. Three thumbs up. Okay, I think we have consensus there. So I guess the recommendation then is to shorten the first sentence to follow the same format as the first line. So just unsupported file formats and then a list. And then check the PHP GD installation documentation, the same link. And then finish that sentence with, if you want to add support for these formats. Okay. Let me go back to the issue. Excuse me. Are there any other comments here that we should look at? Ralph, you're the one who's looked at this issue. Oh, I don't need to look at that.
I don't think so.
Let
There
me
was a
do
consensus about the suggested one format missing, two format missing examples, and therefore they just wanted some confirmation from the UX meeting.
Okay, I'm just searching the page for the word usability. So Andy Post said, yeah, Andy Post is the one who added the usability review. Tagging for usability review, as if GD library missing more than one format, it could look weird. Would be great to add screenshots about how it may look. And I guess they've done that, which is good. And then I think that's not a usability question. That last part of his comment, thinking about the contrib module for ImageMagick. This was my comment. Okay. I don't think we have to. I don't think there are any specific questions that we have to reply to. Ralph, would you like to add a comment to this issue, or would you rather I do it?
I could. It's I already made notes about the agreement we have on the consensus.
Okay, great, thank you. So we still have 10 or 15 minutes left. And there was another issue that Ralph, you thought might be a quick one to look at. So let's look at
the quick one is the one from about class Drupal core utility error not found.
Yeah,
I paste the link chat. Oh, you already have it, sorry.
Yeah. So this is issue 3258987, class Drupal core utility error not found in Drupal error handler real due to bug in PHP 8.1.0 to 8.1.5. Ralph, where should I scroll to? Ralph, you're muted.
And my connection was unstable the last few seconds. I have only robot voice from you, so
Okay.
not exactly heard what you said, sorry.
Oh, I just read out the issue title.
Okay.
So go ahead. Where?
It's basically, oops, I skimmed across it. It's by XJM. On top, it's basically about the PHP version. The major version 8.1 introduces many deprecation notices that would not appear previously, and on the update there should be some sort of recommendation and different. One second, I scroll down. It's in comment number. Where is it? In comment number 95. There, XJM provided several screenshots for different scenarios. For example, if you are on PHP 7.4 with head, what the output is there, then with PHP 8.0, same for 8.0 with lower recommended PHP, and if you're on 8.1. And the goal is to bring people to 8.1.6. That's the version. From that on, those deprecation notices won't show up anymore.
I'm not sure what the usability issue is here. So the problem is that some versions of PHP have a bug, and I guess the plan is again the status report page. Is that right? Is that where these will show up?
I guess it is. Yeah.
So the issue would be that the status pages would be warning about issues that are not relevant to the current system.
Yeah, it's on a status report page. Looks like. I think the main question, because it was set for usability review, is I suppose wordsmithing. If the text is comprehensible and easy to understand and clear.
Long, which is generally a bad thing.
Yeah.
So is that what it is? It's sort of a wordsmithing question. Can we improve these error messages?
Yeah, or if we nod and say those error messages are okay.
Well, one easy change to make. I am not a fan of the phrase "note that." I don't think it adds anything. And that's a general statement, and I think it applies here. So note that PHP 8.1 versions, just strike note that, and maybe make it versions of PHP. Maybe not. Maybe that adds too many words. So just strike note that PHP 8.1 versions before 8.1.6 have a bug, blah, 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 blah.
I have one problem with the text. For example, for on PHP 8 with head, you have version 8.0.2. It is recommended to upgrade to PHP version 8.1 or higher. And I would directly write upgrade to PHP version 8.1.6. So explicitly state where to go, because in the last snippet where we are already in 8.1, you have note that PHP 8.1 version before 8.6. Note that PHP 8.1 versions, meaning that all the versions before are affected, and that way it's understandable. But in that other example, it is a clear call to action to install to PHP version 8.1, from my understanding. And to make it more clear and say explicitly go to 8.1.6 or after or later.
The two-part recommendation, let's put 8.1.6 in the first paragraph. It is recommended to upgrade to PHP version 8.1.6 or higher, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And then edit the second paragraph to make explicit this warning about versions 8.1.0 to 8.1.5, if that's accurate.
And strike note that, as you suggested.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agree, disagree? Simo, Thomas? Okay, Thomas, if you're trying to say something, you're still muted, but I'll take silence as meaning no opinion. We only have 5 minutes left. But
I think at least it should be combined so that it's not two recommendations, but clearly just say that if you like upgrade to 8.1.6 or higher. So just
you mean to strike also it is recommended and just say to upgrade to PHP version 8.1 and higher, 1.6 and higher, sorry.
yeah, so I think we'll definitely recommend making it 8.1.6 in the first paragraph. And then we could just let people follow the links to get the further explanation. But maybe this bug is serious enough that we should have a further explanation here. I'm inclined not to make a decision on that and leave that to the people working on the issue to decide how serious the bug is. But if they do want to keep it, then rewrite the second paragraph. Given that we will recommend in the first paragraph to upgrade to 8.1.6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm also wondering that if some versions of PHP can cause fatal runtime errors, shouldn't that mean that we are not supporting those PHP versions if they can cause fatal errors? Then it kind of means that they are not really supported. Yeah,
Discussion of that on the issue, and I would say that's not our job to decide. That's not a usability question.
Yeah, that's not ours, but I was just thinking further.
So should be it is recommended be kept or also changed, like Simo said?
So what does it currently say? What do I have for PHP version? This just says 8.1.6. And at the top it says 8.1.6, and the more version is the PHP info page, I think. Yeah. So are you suggesting that we also strike these 3 words or 4 words instead of it is recommended to start with upgrade to?
Would make sense. Just upgrade to PHP 8.1.6 or higher. Just a clear action.
Yeah, less is more. I agree. It is recommended to is just as useless as note that.
Yeah.
Great. I'm happy to leave that comment unless someone else would like to.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. And we are running up on the hour, and I do have to drop promptly. Any last comments before we close the meeting?
Nothing from my end. Thank you for running.
My pleasure. And thank you all for coming. And hope to do this again next week.
Okay, doke. Thank you. Have a nice weekend.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.